Welcome to Phenomenon Radio, the show that covers thought-provoking breakthroughs in the fields of UAP UFOs to discover fascinating truths, first-hand accounts, and investigative insights into the expanding confluence of physical and mental exposure to this worldwide phenomenon. Hosted by Emmy award-winning investigative journalists, Earthfiles reporter and editor, Linda Moulton Howe, and world-renowned experiencer of the 1980 Rendlesham Bentwaters incident, John Burroughs. And now, leading off tonight's program, here's Linda Moulton Howe.
On December 16, 2017, the New York Times headlined on its front page and website the release of a 34-second infrared video with two jet fighter pilots talking about a tic-tac candy-shaped UFO in their gun camera sights. The date of that UFO encounter was later given by the Washington Post as November 14, 2004. The UFO is all white and oblong shaped like a tic-tac. The jet fighter pilots are amazed when the tic-tac UFO makes a remarkable 100-degree rotation within their gun sight without changing altitude. The gun camera video is also referred to on news programs as the Nimitz video because the jet fighters were allegedly from the USS Nimitz on a training mission with the USS Princeton off the coast of San Diego. Also, on December 16th, the New York Times released a second video that ran 1 minute and 16 seconds, an edited version of a longer 2 minutes and 45-second infrared video released on December 18th, 2017 by the Washington Post in an interview with retired U.S. Navy Commander David Fravor. That longer video was produced with graphics and music by Tom DeLonge's To the Stars Academy and includes chain of custody information, which states that the location, date, and time of the longer Commander Fravor infrared video was withheld in the interest of national security concerns. My co-host, John Burroughs, has researched what was happening to the USS Nimitz and USS Princeton in 2004 to 2005. John has discovered the Nimitz was back from deployment in the Middle East to its home base in San Diego between February and October 2004. The Nimitz went to do recertification with the USS Princeton in the Pacific Ocean off San Diego. On November 20th, 2004, the two ships returned from the recertification trials. Then, after the Christmas holidays, on March 11th to 24th of 2005, the USS Nimitz and USS Princeton were together off San Diego in pre-deployment exercises before their joint task force sailed to the Middle East in May of 2005. So, it is possible the first 34-second tic-tac infrared video was taped either between October to November 2004 off San Diego or in March 2005 when the Nimitz and Princeton were training together off San Diego. Then the second longer and more sensitive and classified infrared video could have been shot during the Nimitz and Princeton deployment in the Middle East from May to November of 2005. Whether off San Diego or in the Middle East, Commander Fravor explained in his December news interviews that for 2 weeks, the USS Princeton had been tracking unidentified aerial objects that appeared suddenly at 80,000 feet and dropped to 20,000 feet and then hovered. One UFO dropped to 50 feet above the ocean, and Commander Fravor could see the water churn below the UFO's 40-foot-long oval shape. The infrared gun camera video shows that the UFO zips off at an acceleration that Commander Fravor said was, quote, like nothing I have ever seen, close quote. Some estimates said it could have been going off at 96,000 miles an hour. 2 weeks later, on December 30th, 2017, a German website that reports about current international science news released an article entitled Nimitz UFO Video. Alleged trace to German film production company leads to a mysterious dead end. The author is Andreas Muller, a longtime investigator of crop formations. The article states that since 2007, the so-called Wayback Machine of the Internet's webarchive.org shows a download option for a video that matches the 34-second tic-tac infrared video. The 2007 website was identified as the German film production company Vision Unlimited. It specializes in 2 and 3D animations as well as special effects. That's when a rumor began spreading that the tic-tac video released by Luis Elizondo and his Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program was in fact a hoax from Germany. But Andreas Muller's article says, quote, the search for the origin of the video through Vision Unlimited not only leads to a dead end, but also raises more questions than answers. Where does the video come from, and how, why, and by whom was it placed to the server of the VU website? Close quote. Tonight on Phenomenon Radio, we will hear about the 2007 YouTube posting of the first infrared gun camera video, known as the tic-tac video, and we will hear from astrophysicist Eric Davis, PhD. He is the Chief Science Officer of Earth Tech International, Inc. in Austin, Texas, where he works with engineer Hal Puthoff, also PhD. Dr. Puthoff is on the board of directors with Luis Elizondo and others for Tom DeLonge's To the Stars Academy. Dr. Davis is also an adjunct research professor at the Center for Astrophysics, Space Physics, and Engineering Research at Baylor University in Waco, Texas. He studies the early universe, cosmology, and string theory. And Dr. Davis and Dr. Hal Puthoff have been subcontractors to Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies, also known as BASS. After this short break, Dr. Eric Davis will join us in the first hour on Phenomenon Radio to explain if it is true that the tic-tac UFO video was first put on YouTube back in 2007, a full 10 years before the December 16th, 2017 release in the New York Times. And then joining us in the second hour will be Steve Bassett, Executive Director of the Paradigm Research Group, who has for years been working for official government disclosure and confirmation that there is an alien presence on this planet and beyond. He will be here live from London, where Steve is currently based.
You're listening to Phenomenon Radio live exclusively on KGRAradio.com. We kick off tonight's interviews right after this quick break with special guest Eric W. Davis, PhD, Chief Science Officer, Earth Tech International Incorporated, and the Institute for Advanced Studies at Austin, Texas. He's going to join the show right after this short break. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, this is AJ from Vibes Mind Body Spirit. Have you visited our website? OnlineVibes.com is your source for all of the essential tools to elevate your experience and raise your vibration. While you're there, you can view our schedule of a wide variety of classes and other spiritual workshops brought to you in-house by members of our very own Vibes Tribe. Stop by onlinevibes.com, that's VIBEZ, and redeem the coupon code VIBESLIFE to receive 20% off any purchase from our amazing inventory of thoughtful gifts and mindful tools to enhance your healing journey. So don't hesitate a second. Visit the Vibes Tribe today at onlinevibez.com and take advantage of the coupon code VIBESLIFE for 20% off your purchase. And we'll see you at one of our classes or workshops soon.
Hi, this is Matt Ray for My Pillow. Look, I'd forgotten what a good night's sleep was like. Then I got a hold of My Pillow. I used to wake up with neck and shoulder pain. I thought it was the new normal. But after one night of using My Pillow, my neck and shoulder pain is gone, and I'm sleeping comfortably through the night. My Pillow's patented interlocking fill conforms to your personal sleep needs. It's guaranteed not to go flat. It's washable, it's dryable, and it's made in the USA, not to mention the 10-year warranty. Try it risk-free with a 60-day money-back guarantee. What have you got to lose besides back pain and shoulder pain? Right now, America's First News has a great deal. Try it for yourself. Call now. You'll get 50% off a 4-pack. That's 2 premium pillows and 2 travel pillows. Call now. 800-716-4835. Use the promo code RAY, R-A-Y. That's 800-716-4835. Use the promo code RAY.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
Your alternative talk radio contact, The Planet, KGRAradio.com.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. You're locked into Phenomenon Radio live exclusively on KGRAradio.com. It's time to kick off our interview with special guest Dr. Eric Davis and Stephen Bassett to follow in the second hour. To start the first part of tonight's interview, here's Linda Moulton Howe. Linda?
Thanks, Race. Dr. Eric Davis, welcome to Phenomenon Radio. We are so happy to have you here to help give us a reality check on some of the confusion that has been emanating on the web. And I thought, go ahead.
Thank you, Linda. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I wonder if we could start with, most of us saw that 34-second tic-tac gun camera infrared video for the very first time on December 16th, 2017, 3 weeks ago, in conjunction with the news in the New York Times. And what has happened since then has been this whole kind of rumor on the web that keeps growing about whether or not it did air in YouTube in 2007. And if it did, then people are jumping to the conclusion that it is a hoax made by the German company known as VU. So could you please start by explaining what you know about the tic-tac infrared video that was or the accusation that it was posted in 2007 on YouTube and associated with the German special effects company Vision Unlimited? What do you know?
Okay. Well, what we know is that someone working in the Nimitz Carrier Task Group, or the Carrier Strike Group is what they call it, the CSG. Somebody working in that strike group that was involved with gathering up the FLIR videos from the two F-18s in November of 2004 of that incident, was storing those videos on a CD, and somehow or another that individual transmitted one of those videos, but we're not sure if they transmitted the entire CD, but at least one of those videos got transferred to a German documentary film group that was producing some sort of a film, and we don't know what that was about. So anyway, that video got transmitted to them, and it was that same group that had posted the 30-second, I believe it was, F-18 FLIR video of the tic-tac encounter on YouTube in 2007. There's no chain of custody or provenance of the transfer on that video from that individual in the Nimitz Carrier Strike Group to the German group. So that's what it stands at. But that is the same video that the Department of Defense, under the guidance and assistance of Luis Elizondo, had released to the New York Times for their December 16th online article and the December 17th print version, the Sunday edition of the December 17th New York Times.
And Eric, does that mean, is the implication of what you just said, that in 2007, someone in the Defense Intelligence Agency or the Navy decided to put together some of the best UFO infrared footage from gun cameras, put it on some kind of a CD or DVD, and sold it for money to the German group?
No, we don't have that information. All we know is that somebody in the Nimitz task force, or the Nimitz Carrier Strike Group, who was responsible for gathering the investigative data, which is the FLIR videos and the Aegis surface ship radars data on the tic-tac encounters. Somebody was gathering all that up and putting it on a DVD for whatever purposes, probably to be stored or to be passed up through the chain of command to those who need to see the videos and the radar data during an investigation. So that individual would be in the Navy and would have been at sea at the time. Or maybe they might have already been docked, I don't know. But it was an individual associated or employed in the carrier group. And he made the CD, and either one video got transmitted from that individual to the Germans, or it went through an intermediary to the Germans. I don't know. All we know is that there's no chain of custody and no information on exactly how it got transmitted to the German documentary group and why.
Does that mean then that what you are saying is that there is no truth to what has been spinning on the web, that the tic-tac video was the German company's hoaxed video, that it did originate from a Department of Defense source, and that it got somehow to the Germans, but it is not German hoaxed 3D animation?
Yeah, the video is not a German animation hoax put on by that German simulation or computer graphics group. It's a film group, I understand. They did not hoax it. They got it directly. I mean, that video they got from an intermediary or directly from the individual in the Navy, and they got that, and they got the original video. They got the original video, which is the same video that the New York Times posted online on December 16th last year.
Now, another story broke 3 days ago that a British newspaper, I can't remember which one, contacted the Department of Defense, and they denied the fact that they authorized and released these videos. Do you know anything about that, and where does that stand? I'm not aware of that, and I can't speak on their behalf on that. So if they denied it, that might be the wrong people to talk to. Well, maybe they were not authorized to reveal anything, so they had to deny it. I don't know. Well, can you clarify who inside the Department of Defense authorized these videos to be released then?
No, I don't know who that was. That would have you would have to ask Luis Elizondo that.
Because
it might have been under his own authority.
Yeah, he said that in that live stream that Tom DeLonge did in the middle of October, that he was authorizing the release. They were going to release 3 videos. The first 2 in December. There's supposed to be another one in January. And Luis Elizondo is the one, as I understand, that is the context for the release. But Eric, we talked yesterday on the phone, and you read to me some fascinating pieces of what you got okay with Hal to share with us on Phenomena Radio tonight. So can you now share those parts of the still classified Navy Analytical Executive Summary and the pilot's key assessments so that our Phenomena Radio audience can hear from a document that you and Dr. Puthoff received, and that the date was 2008, a year after the transfer to the Germans? And can you explain why you and Dr. Puthoff at the Earth Tech and the Institute for Advanced Studies, why would you receive this document and share with us the segments that you can?
Well, this document is just basically a summary investigation report of the Nimitz encounter. And all it's doing is summarizing the witnesses, the data, the background information, and summarizing witness statements. And so basically, the front page is just the executive summary and the key assessments. And so we got that as a part of our subcontract work to the Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies, work on being able to help them analyze these encounters and see if we can figure out what they are, who they are, and where they're from. And so we were doing the physics on these things. And so we were given this information as a matter of information sharing, because this is an intelligence agency program contract. So we're getting a copy, and it's not classified. It's basically a unreleased version on regular paper. It's not on stationery. I'm sure that the Program Office of Origin probably has a classified version of it in their archives. It might be just for official use only. It's about basically my reading of it is it looks like it's official use only because it doesn't contain sources and methods or anything of a higher level that requires higher classifications. But anyway, essentially, this is just information that's shared with us in the course of our work and collaborations with Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies, and in order to help understand what this phenomenon is, what's being encountered by Department of Defense and military service agencies, what their personnel are encountering, what they're experiencing, what they're recording, and then attempt to try to figure out try to reverse engineer it per se, theoretically, to figure out and estimate what it is. Because we have to do a forensic science process of elimination where we try to rule out hypotheses to explain this phenomenon. And we have to go through the natural phenomenon, meteorology, weather, and space phenomenon, space weather, spacecraft reentry, meteors, meteorites, things like that. And we have to look at man-made technologies, like jet fighters, UAVs, both foreign and domestically produced, maybe hobby UAVs that are being deployed by hobbyists out there who are playing games with their little UAV devices that they picked up on Amazon.com or at the local electronics store, things like that. So we have to run up a list of hypotheses and go through them, and we ruled everything out, and we were reduced to the last common denominator, which was they were artificial technology that's under intelligent control, and it's not made by anything on Earth. It's not a natural phenomenon, definitely, and it's not a space phenomenon. And it's not a man-made phenomenon. It's not any kind of a technology that's made on Earth by either the United States or other foreign countries. The performance of these things are too extreme. They're so extreme that the Aegis surface ship radar and the F-18 forward-looking infrared videos are clearly demonstrate from the measurements made by those devices, their sensing systems on the targeted vehicles that were being tracked, produced amazing, astonishing changes in altitude above sea level, high accelerations, high velocities that just go way beyond rocketry, ballistic missiles, jet fighters, general aviation, airliners, UAVs, or anything else. Anything else, even balloons.
And, well,
so
Eric,
the executives, yeah, go ahead.
can you share with us now from that Navy Analytical Executive Summary, and then
this is the executive summary of an investigation. This summarizes the whole investigation. So the executive summary reads, during the period of approximately 10 to 16 November 2004, the Nimitz Carrier Strike Group was operating off the western coast of the United States in preparation for the deployment to the Arabian Sea. The USS Princeton on several occasions detected multiple anomalous aerial vehicles operating in and around the vicinity of the Carrier Strike Group. The anomalous aerial vehicles would descend very rapidly from approximately 60,000 feet mean sea level altitude down to approximately 50 feet mean sea level altitude in a matter of seconds. They would then hover or stay stationary on the radar for a short time and depart at high velocities and turn rates. On 14 November, after again detecting the anomalous aerial vehicle, the USS Princeton took the opportunity of having a flight of two F-18, it's actually F/A-18Fs, that's fighter attack dash 18Fs, I guess it's the Block F model F-18, so I'll just call them F-18s. So the USS Princeton took the opportunity of having a flight of two F-18s returning from a training mission to further investigate the anomalous aerial vehicle. The USS Princeton took over control of the F-18s from the E-2C airborne early warning aircraft and vectored in the F-18s for intercept, leading to visual contact approximately 1 mile away from the anomalous aerial vehicle, which was reported to be an elongated egg or a tic-tac shape with a discernible midline horizontal axis. It was solid, white, smooth, with no edges. It was uniformly colored with no nacelles, pylons, or wings. It was approximately 46 feet in length, and the F-18 radar could not obtain a lock on the anomalous aerial vehicle. However, it could be tracked with stationary and at slower speeds with the forward-looking infrared infrared FLIR. I guess it's the forward-looking infrared. Yeah, that's right. The visual camera system that operates in the infrared. Okay, I'm just reading it. This might be a typo that I would have corrected.
Okay.
But anyway, the anomalous aerial vehicle did take evasive actions upon intercept by the F-18, demonstrating an advanced acceleration, aerodynamic, and propulsion capability. The anomalous aerial vehicle did not take any offensive action against the Carrier Strike Group. However, given its ability to operate unchallenged in close vicinity to the Carrier Strike Group, it demonstrated the potential to conduct undetected reconnaissance, leaving the Carrier Strike Group with a limited ability to detect, track, and or engage the anomalous aerial vehicle. And that's the executive summary.
And they're basically saying that whatever they were watching and dealing with was not like known Earth physics and military equipment.
Exactly.
And
it exceeds the performance of all civilian aircraft, military aircraft, rocketry technology, or ballistic missiles, or short range, or strategic, or intermediate, whatever, cruise missiles, balloons, advanced balloons, hybrid lifting bodies, hobby UAVs, or military UAVs. This goes way beyond it. Beyond it.
Eric, can you now share what the FA-18F fighter pilots said in that key assessment?
Okay. The key assessments is a combination of all of the F-18 pilot assessments. So this is their personal assessments that's been combined together. The key assessments are: 1, the anomalous aerial vehicle was no known aircraft or air vehicle currently in the inventory of the United States or any foreign nation. 2, the anomalous aerial vehicle exhibited advanced low observable characteristics at multiple radar bands, rendering U.S. radar-based engagement capabilities ineffective. 3, the anomalous aerial vehicle exhibited advanced aerodynamic performance with no visible control surfaces and no visible means to generate lift. 4, the anomalous aerial vehicle exhibited advanced propulsion capability by demonstrating the ability to remain stationary with little to no variation in altitude, transitioning to horizontal and or vertical velocities far greater than any known aerial vehicle with little to no visible signature. 5, the anomalous aerial vehicle possibly demonstrated the ability to cloak or become invisible to the human eye or human observation. And 6, last, the anomalous aerial vehicle possibly demonstrated a highly advanced capability to operate undersea, completely undetectable by our most advanced sensors. So that's the collective assessment of the pilots.
Right. And also in the executive summary, if I heard correctly, that even radar was not picking up the tic-tac at some point, that it was invisible to radar even.
I don't know that I would say that. I would just say, it was approximately, the F-18 radar. We're not talking about the Aegis surface ship radars here. We're talking about the radar and the fighters. They could not obtain a lock. Now, normally that would mean a weapons lock. And I understood from talking to one of the pilots that it seemed to fade in and fade out. I think that refers to the cloaking effect, the invisibility effect that they noted here, how the FLIR monitor or the display in the cockpit would show it kind of looking fuzzy a bit, and the radar just can't get a lock. And that lock usually refers to the weapons lock. You want to be able to shoot your enemy, so you got to get a weapons lock in order to guide the weaponry toward it.
So I want to ask a question then. These guys felt the necessity to lock their weapon systems on these objects?
My understanding is that they were asked to contact this vehicle and signal it. So basically they tried all communications bands and there was no response. So they started using aerial maneuvers to move in and around, up and down and in front of it to try to get a response from it, and hopefully prompt the pilot to contact the fighters. And I believe that then when that was unsuccessful, or during that activity, they were asked if they could shoot it down, but these guys weren't loaded. They didn't have any weaponry on board because they were coming back from a training exercise where they were going with no missiles and no live ammunition on the fighters. So that's why they were asked to get a radar lock. The pilots are naturally going to get a radar lock, but they were specifically asked by their air traffic controller to see if they can get a gun radar lock on it.
And they were actually asked if they could shoot it down?
I believe that's right.
Off the coast of San Diego?
No, they weren't off the coast of San Diego. They were near Coronado Island.
Between San Diego and Mexico?
Coronado Island, let's see. Coronado Island is below. It's just off the coast of Mexico by a long distance. It looks like it's about 80, maybe just inside of 80 kilometers off the coast of Mexico.
Okay, now when I understand what you said that they weren't armed, but whatever they were dealing with may have handicapped. Okay.
Hang on a second. This map I'm looking at shows a picture of the Mexican coast up to the border. There's Tijuana, and above that is San Diego. I see the little islands. Now, what I'm seeing is a mark where the AAV is, and there is no reference to this. Is Figure 1. So if you just give me a moment, I'll see if I can find Figure 1. I'm not very conversant with the islands off the California coast. Coronado Island probably is southwest in the Pacific from San Diego, but they were near that island. But according to this picture, they had come across this off the coast of Mexico. So I'm trying to find reference to Figure 1, and I don't see it. Maybe I need to turn the page. And
Eric,
yes, I found it. Okay,
Eric,
I found it.
If we had shot this UFO, UAP, unidentified, anomalous area vehicle down on the island of Coronado, what would have happened?
I can't speculate on that. I'm sure there would have been emergency call for vehicle recovery team. They'd have the emergency guys out there in case there were passengers on board that needed medical treatment, and I'm sure the whole task force would go into an emergency situation where they would have to respond to the crash.
They would respond search and rescue. What I'm curious about is two things. Did, number one, at any time when they were trying to do these maneuvers, locked on it, did it respond to it? And number two, at any time did the task group itself, to include the carrier, because you said the carrier couldn't detect it, did they feel threatened by this or these objects, or was there any kind of hostile act towards any of these objects or any of our equipment during this whole incident?
Well, you're going long here. Just give me the first question first.
Okay, first question. Did the object, whatever it was, react to any of our attempts to communicate with it, up into including the radar system, the weapon system locking on it?
My understanding is that no, it did not react, but when the pilots started flying to cut it off mid-flight, I think one of the pilots did some sort of maneuver to try to get in front of it, in front of the tic-tac's direction of motion, and at some point that's when it shot back up into the sky and disappeared.
Okay. At any time during the event, did any of the, whether it was the Princeton, the Nimitz, the air crews, or anything else, did they feel the fact that their safety might have been in jeopardy?
I don't know. That kind of statement is not in the report. There's no mention that they felt that they were in jeopardy. All they said is that the fact that there's a potential to conduct undetected recon in the carrier strike group's vicinity that can go unchallenged, and that's a problem.
How was it tracked? Right. How did the Princeton, did they summarize to you, it was that difficult? What did they use? What equipment were they using to detect it? Exactly what did they feel it was when they first, tracked it, and, right up until the air crew made visual with it?
I think it's the Aegis surface ship radar. That's my understanding from what I've read.
Okay, so their system was able to track it at some point. I mean, I understand that.
Yeah.
But what made the statement be that it was able to be in the area and not be? How did they understand the fact that it could have cloaked, is what you said, number one, and number two, that they may have not been able to detect it? Because if you did detect it, how would you know you couldn't detect it?
Oh, I think that statement is being made while everything is in action. I mean, you're turning on the radar, you're getting a forward-looking infrared camera view of it, and then they're getting radar returns off of it, and then at some point, the radar return. I think the radar return is what they're referring to on the cloaking, and they've lost it. Now, I cannot talk about the radar because that's sensitive military information, so I won't discuss that detail, because it gives you how their system works, and I can't discuss that. So I don't want to get into the specific detail of the technology used and how it interacted with the tic-tac. This gets into very specific stuff, and it'd be not a good idea to be putting this out over
okay,
the
internet. Okay, the next question I would have to you then is this. You said you had to evaluate it from all possible capabilities, including weather and everything else. Did you evaluate both videos or just the tic-tac video?
Just the tic-tac video.
Okay. So you were aware of the exact date, time, weather conditions, and everything else. Obviously, your group was brought in through Bigelow Aerospace. Had you or have you ever seen any type of this type of technology before, prior to you seeing this video, or were you aware of this? And if so, okay. So this was the first time you were exposed to this type of technology.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. How about going forward?
It's very unusual. What was surprising was the shape of the vehicle. It's not a saucer. It's not a triangle. It's not a rectangle. It's not a sphere. It's very unusual.
So what is unusual from your point of view is that this is like an elongated egg, smooth and white and oblong?
Yeah, It was an unusual vehicle shape with no propulsion pylons, no external propulsion, no sign of internal propulsion, no propulsion signature, no wings, no ailerons, no flaps, no control surfaces of any kind.
But Eric, what is puzzling to me is going back to the 1980s, after I had done the investigations of the animal mutilations and had begun to talk with people who had military background in projects like Pounce and Moondust, where they were organized as military groups all the way back to Truman and Eisenhower to go after retrieved craft. They had some people had a breakdown of types, and the one that they associated with what is in the government's documents as extraterrestrial biological entities is shaped like a white egg, and that is related to what are known as the Ebens, going back to the 1980s.
Okay. No, I got your books, but I don't remember.
It's not
over
just
20 years I've read that.
Yeah, it's not just my book. It's been a general around the world in all countries, an association of the white, smooth egg shape with the pear-shaped gray types known as Ebens. But there's something I wanted to, I've had so many questions from people in email since the release in December who have said, and I think John Lear, once a pilot, that there's been criticism that there would have been no hissing air sounds on the infrared videos of the Hornet jet fighters. Could you please explain, give us a reality check on why there is that air sound in both of the tic-tac video and the longer 2 minute and 45 second from To the Stars?
That's because none of us who have dealt with that video ever thought to turn the volume up. We're just looking at an FLIR display video, and nobody thinks about audio. The fact is that the pilot left his intercom microphone on. He forgot to turn it off. They have their microphone on when they're talking, and then they'll turn it off at times. So he left his mic hot. That's the phrase. The mic is on. It's by saying the mic is hot. So he just left his intercom microphone on.
And so the criticisms that these are somehow made up and they have an air sound and therefore they're phony, that is completely wrong.
Yeah, this is just the pilot's microphone is on and you're hearing the background noise that gets recorded through the intercom.
And a question that seems to hover over everything we've talked about is, are you personally convinced that everything that you have described from that executive summary and the pilot's statements that is not known to Earth, then we are dealing with an alien technology, something that is not from humans?
Yeah, I don't know that I can say it's alien. We know it's not human. Because if it was human, we've been able to figure that out based on the fact that we would have a ground truth or a history of evolutionary technology. And I said evolution, the evolution of technology that would lead us to, or led somebody somewhere on Earth to create that type of technology and deploy it. And that's not the case. So the case is forensic analysis done by the Navy and other folks and Luis Elizondo's AATIP program eliminated all the usual hypotheses, and all the usual hypotheses are the usual suspects, and that is it's not weather phenomenon, it's not space phenomenon, it's not man-made phenomenon. It is a technology under intelligent control. We don't know where it's from. We can't say it's alien because they didn't communicate with us. They didn't talk to those pilots or land on the Nimitz and say, hey, we're from planet XYZ, or we're from the 18th dimension. We don't come from a planet. That did not happen. It would be wonderful if that did happen. Then we could figure out where the hell these things come from. But the fact that they're coming in from above 60,000 feet altitude above the sea says a lot about the fact that there's a possibility that they're coming from space. 60,000 feet is 40,000 feet away from near space. Near space is what's classified as roughly 100,000 feet altitude. And that's an altitude that's being looked at by advanced aircraft companies for the Department of Defense for deploying hypersonic aircraft, hypersonic surveillance vehicles, and so forth, is deploying very fast vehicles in near space. So when you're up in near space, you're on the edge of space. And I'm thinking, since we've eliminated a mankind origin, or human origin, I should say, human origin, we've eliminated that, then the only other possibility is that these things are coming from outer space. But there's other hypotheses. My boss, Hal, put up, by the way, Hal is not an engineer. He's a physicist. He got his PhD in laser physics at Stanford University. But back in those days, in 1967, and before, when he was in graduate school, they didn't have a physics department. You had to go to the electrical engineering department in order to get your physics degree. So he did study electrical engineering, but and got on microwave and maser technology, and then he evolved into laser technology for his PhD dissertation research, and he did a bunch of laser work in that regards, and he and his PhD supervisor, Richard Pantel, had patented some new laser technology developments that they developed at the lab in Stanford as part of Hal's dissertation research. So they co-authored the premier book on the quantum physics of lasers. It was called Quantum Electronics. And so basically, it's all physics. At the end of the day, he has a bachelor's and a master's in electrical engineering, but he's got a PhD in laser physics. So,
yeah. And
anyway,
Eric,
I just wanted to correct the record, but essentially, Hal's thesis is that UFOs may be ultra-terrestrials, and of course that's a speculation, just like the extraterrestrial hypothesis is a speculation. That hypothesis means that there might have been a branch of Homo sapiens, or it was pre-Homo sapiens or contemporary to Homo sapiens that split off. It was something, maybe another branch like the Denisovans and the Neanderthals, and they were evolved separately from the other branches that we now know of as the hominins, Homo sapiens sapiens and Neanderthal and Denisovans, etc. There's a fourth branch that has not yet been identified, but they found bones for it within the past 5 years, I believe. That's been published in the Science News. And it might be that this fourth branch evolved away, hypothetically speaking, and they developed to become far more advanced than the human race, and the human race encountered them off and on during the evolution of the human race and into ancient antiquities, into the times of antiquity. And they might be far more advanced than we are. They might have ways of shielding their existence and their environment or their habitat, and they might be deploying these advanced aircraft, which we call UFOs. And that's one other hypothesis. Jacques Vallée has had a hypothesis in his book Dimensions that after all of this investigation since the 1960s on UFOs, he believes that UFOs are far too absurd in their interactions with humans and in their appearance to be extraterrestrials. He thinks they probably come from another dimension because of the nature of how something from another dimension would appear to us three-dimensional people. So there's several hypotheses here on the origin of UFOs. I prefer the extraterrestrial hypothesis, but I am also open-minded about the extra-dimensional hypothesis. We don't have any physics experience with the existence of any dimensions higher than 3 spatial dimensions. However, in a recent Science Alert article that came out yesterday or the other day, this week, there is a laboratory experiment that was done, and it's very complicated. I'm not going to get into it, where they believe that they see the signs of the physical 4 dimension. And I'm still reading the article to understand it. So
yeah,
maybe there is an indication of a 4th extra space dimension where we cannot interact with it through our normal 3-dimensional environment. But there are means in physics where these guys at a laboratory are doing some condensed matter theory work, or condensed matter experiments, and they're seeing the signs of what looks like would be a 4th dimension. So, you got to test these hypotheses. Until you do, they remain nothing but speculations. And physics has lots of theoretical speculations being published all the time, like the multiverse and parallel universes and things like that. So,
and Eric, there's another possibility that this particular universe is teeming with life, and that some go and colonize planets and turn them into laboratories and experiment genetically and extract metals and use different planets like various kinds of grocery stores, and that we could be in that category. And therefore, it might be that there's been mixing and matching of genes and the creation of Homo sapien and then on to Homo sapien sapien by extraterrestrial biological entities that have come here and then gone again. But maybe some of the alleged alien presence could have bases still underground in this Earth, in the moon, in Mars, and beyond?
Yeah, that's a valid hypothesis that could be tested. Physicist Paul Davies at Arizona State University published 2 papers several years ago in the journal Acta Astronautica, which is the peer-reviewed journal of the International Academy of Astronautics. He suggested the possibility that there are hidden microbiomes on Earth where alien bacteria, extraterrestrial bacteria, has found its way to Earth and set up a little niche ecology where it's hiding in the shadows, and it hasn't been discovered by Earth biologists yet. And so he said, and he also suggested that extraterrestrials with advanced spaceflight technology could have been able to travel the stars after the galaxy. After all, the galaxy is a lot older than the solar system by several times. So there's been plenty of opportunity for civilizations elsewhere in the galaxy to develop, evolve, and invent advanced technologies that would lead them into space exploration. So they would have had plenty of time over the course of the early galaxy's history to come to Earth or discover the Earth, come here during their explorations and find the Earth's life forms. It's got flora and fauna evolving on the surface, and it's got a friendly environment, being in the habitable zone of the sun, where water is predominantly a liquid, and et cetera, et cetera. It's a warm, partially cold environment, and it's pretty beneficial for life. So they found their way here, they landed, and when they took off, they did what the Apollo astronauts do. They left some hardware behind. And so he suggested that there might be he suggested there might be some hardware, technology hardware that had been left behind after they left the Earth, and might have been, 100, 200 million years ago when this happened. So buried deep in the sediments somewhere around the Earth could be alien hardware, extraterrestrial spacecraft or technology hardware that has yet to be dug up by archaeologists. And the field of that type of archaeology is called xenoarchaeology. And Paul Davies is not the first to really suggest that. There were other archaeologists who have suggested the possibility that there might be technological remains of advanced alien species that had the ability for spaceflight, that somehow found their way to Earth, landed on Earth, explored it, took off, and they left behind relics. And there are relics remaining buried in the sediments of the Earth's structure, of the Earth's surface, that have yet to be discovered. Paul Davies also suggested that such alien technology relics could even remain on the moon. The aliens might have landed on the moon first, used that as a surveillance post to get an eye on the Earth. Yeah.
Before we leave, you made a statement that sticks out to me, and maybe you can expand on it before we have to go to break. You said you've recovered bones recently within the last 5 years that possibly have DNA pointing to a fourth species. Can you elaborate on that?
I don't remember that. I read that a few years ago. It's just they found a Denisovan pinky bone, yes, and one other piece of a jaw in a cave somewhere in Siberia. And yes, they identified that as a separate species, which is related to Homo sapiens and Neanderthal, because they found mixtures of their genes in the Denisovans. No, that's not true. The Denisovans, no, that's not correct. The Denisovans were a separate Homo species. That's right. And then
they could not find the origin source of the DNA that they found in that one finger bone.
Yeah, I'm just saying that there was a fourth one that has been brought up in the Anthropology Science News, where they brought up that after the Denisovan discovery, there was still yet some other bones that were recovered out there in Asia Minor that remains an unidentified Homo species. It was not the Denisovans, it was not the Neanderthals, and it was not Homo sapiens. And however, if you do a study of the genes of people living in the area today, you'll see a mixture of Neanderthal in the Homo sapiens genes, and they see a little bit of Denisovan in that too. And they even see some Denisovan in the Neanderthal genes that they've recovered from bones. And this fourth one has appeared. Apparently, there's a genetic signature of the fourth unknown species that's mixed in with those. And they've seen it in living humans. So there's still a fourth species out there.
Eric, I think that it is so positive and substantive to have you have this hour with us, and that I hope in the future that we can do this again as they open up more videos, and that we finally are on a planet where everything isn't classified and we are all talking with each other about the fact that there's lots of proof of some kind of other intelligence interacting with our planet. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, everybody. What a wonderful first hour to Phenomenon Radio Live this week. This 45-minute uninterrupted segment of Phenomenon Radio is brought to you by OnlineVibes.com, your personal connection to mind, body, and spirit, committed to helping you with healing modalities that can manifest a true and healthy change in your life. Boy, I got tongue twisted on that one. Visit the website at OnlineVibes.com. That's on